The Tarantula is back, but how and what is his plan against Spidey? Well, let's find out as we close out the final 4 issues that culminate in the final showdown against the Jackal. Welcome to Kevin's Commentary on Comics. Today, we are taking a look at the Amazing Spider-Man number 147 from August 1975. The Tarantula is a very deadly beast. Brought to you by writer Jerry Conway and art by Ross Andrew with cover art by Jazzy John Romita. So we open this one with Spidey hitching a ride on a helicopter. He's coming back from an adventure with the Man-Thing that was presented in Giant-Size Spider-Man number 5. So he's heading back to the Daily Bugle where he unfortunately has to tell his boss, J. Jonah Jameson, that he failed to get any pictures of his encounter with the Man-Thing, even though that's why he went down to the Florida Everglades to begin with. How Peter manages to keep his job is really quite amazing. Plus, here's another dent in his earnings since he didn't make any money on this assignment, so I don't know how he's... I constantly wonder how he supports himself. While he's at the Bugle, though, Ned Leeds gives Peter a file that he got from a doctor who has examined the newly returned Gwen Stacy. And if you remember, all of a sudden Gwen Stacy is back and alive, although they do know she's some sort of duplicate Gwen Stacy. But what's in this file? Well, we will have to wait as we peek in on Anton Miguel Rodriguez, aka the Tarantula, who has apparently recreated his spike boots, which makes one wonder how the heck did he get access to tools needed to create such weapons. I mean, he is in prison, right? So he takes out a guard and he uses a blowtorch to really quickly melt the bars on the windows. I mean, yeah, I'm sure a blowtorch could melt bars on a window, but from the time that he puts out the guard to when he escapes, it's only a couple minutes, apparently. I would think that would take at least 30 minutes. I don't know. He does escape further by climbing a wall using his little spike shoes and gets away to a waiting van, which is driven by the Jackal. Oh, and also note right here, it looks like the Tarantula is taking off his prison duds, and he's wearing a red shirt underneath, which I assume is his costume. I don't think he'd be wearing that. I guess if he was planning to escape, maybe he would have had it, but where would he have gotten his costume from? It's just like the Scorpion we were talking about 2 episodes ago, I believe. When he was released from prison, they just gave him his costume back with his tail and all that, and so I guess, somehow the Tarantula got a hold of his costume and wore it underneath his prison clothes. I don't know. I guess at the end of it, it could also have just been a coloring mistake. So who knows? Meanwhile, Mary Jane is talking to Aunt May about how since Gwen Stacy has come back, Peter has been basically unavailable. And Aunt May is kind of shocked that MJ sounds like she's giving up on Peter and that she should fight for him just like she did for Uncle Ben. So MJ decides Aunt May is right while we peek in on Peter Parker in his Spidey duds thinking about what he read in that doctor's report he got from Ned. So it turns out this report shows that this Gwen Stacy is actually a clone. So now we can say it, clone. It's interesting to reread this now. I mean, clones have just become a huge part of the Spidey mythos, and really it all started right here. Now, I wonder if readers back in the day when they're first reading these issues ever thought, oh, well, she must be a clone, and that this would be the outcome. I mean, my thought would be a robot first, maybe, or time travel of some sort. I'm not sure I would have immediately jumped to clone conclusion or clone-clusion. But I just, I don't know. It's curious. It's something obviously we would never know unless we had time travel to figure out, exactly what readers were trying to figure out. I guess maybe if we could see the letters page, maybe there would be some theories on there. I don't know if these comics that I get off of Marvel Unlimited have the letters page. Some of them do, but some of them don't. So, any rate. So Peter kind of freaks out over the thought that the new Gwen is identical to the original Gwen down to her memories, although those memories do end shortly before original Gwen's death. And this is another thing that kind of bugs me. Memories are cloned? I guess Really, I don't know much about cloning. I'm not sure, how much is known about this, certainly human cloning. And this is a comic book story, but it does seem weird that the memories would have been cloned as well. I kind of thought that a clone would be kind of a fresh copy of the body, but empty in regards to memory or knowledge or whatever. Of course, I ain't a doctor with all this fancy book learning, so what do I know? So like I said, Spidey flips out after seeing images of Gwen and some mirrors in a storefront, and he just decides to take those mirrors out, and he's about to get nabbed by some cops when the Tarantula strikes. So the two fight through the streets of New York and end up in a bus that just keeps on making its normal stops, and on the last stop, Gwen Stacy gets on board, but appears to be in some sort of trance. So who's driving this bus? Well, it's none other than the Jackal. Spider-Man makes a move towards the Jackal, but forgets about the Tarantula, who then manages to hit Spidey with one of his little spiky boots. And those boots, by the way, are now coated with a drug that causes Spider-Man to pass out. So when he wakes up, he's on the top of a very familiar bridge and is chained up. Gwen is there, still in a trance, and the Jackal tells Spidey how much he hates Spider-Man because of what he did to Gwen, and reveals that he is the one who created the new Gwen. Now he's going to kill Spider-Man the same way he killed Gwen 2 years ago, and thus, the Tarantula kicks the chained Spidey off the bridge and into the water below. Dun dun dun! Well, that issue certainly clears up a lot, except for, who is the Jackal? Well, we'll just have to wait for the next issue and my next episode. So I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary. Finally, we now know that Gwen is a clone, and she was created by the Jackal as some sort of revenge against Spider-Man, although it's still a little unclear as to why the Jackal has this need for revenge. One of the things I do find interesting in all of this is the statement that it's been 2 years since Gwen was murdered. Giving specific time spans in comics is always risky, and obviously the Marvel bullpen didn't think much about it back then. Maybe they didn't consider the fact that Spidey would now be in comics for over 50 years. Maybe they thought the comic would have been canceled in 5 years, or that maybe Peter would just age naturally. I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, this storyline came out about 2 years after the issue that featured Gwen Stacy's death, issue 121. So using 2 years does make sense, but considering the longevity of Spider-Man and the fact that a lot of comic book readers are kind of freaks about continuity, maybe they should have left that more vague. But on the other hand, this is 75. Comic book continuity freaks may not have been, a thing at that point in time. I used to be one of those continuity comic book geeks until I realized trying to keep up with a set timeline in any comic universe was just going to drive me nuts. And removing those thoughts allowed me to just kind of enjoy the story I was reading at the time and not thinking about how it all fit up with things that went on in the past. It's just useless to try to get into that mind state. Man, we could probably spend a few hours on continuity in comics and how a character introduced 53 years ago is still in his late 20s or possibly early 30s. I don't even know if they even try to give an age estimate on Peter Parker or any comic book character anymore. I think it's just better if we don't think about it at all, isn't it? But what you should be thinking about is my next episode, where we get to see how Spidey gets out of this mess and learn more things. So make sure you don't miss it by subscribing to my channel, and hey, let's make others think about this by liking and sharing this video, okay? So until next time, please have a great day, and I will see ya.